Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining us tonight. I'm Rashad Bell, and I'm joined with my colleague, Samantha DeCunto. We're both librarians at the Lou Esther T. Mertz Library at the New York Botanical Garden. Thank you for coming to our session, Information Seeking and Record Keeping, Important Tips and Advice for the Gardener and Horticulturalist. I'm going to hand it over to Samantha, who's going to give you a tour through our library and tell you of all the resources available to you.
Thanks, Rashad. So everyone, I hope you can see my screen okay. But today we're going to be walking you through the library, as Rashad said, and we're going to be walking you through the space, the services, and do a few collection overviews. So after that, Rashad will then share his screen and provide a live demo of how to navigate the library webpage, digital resources, and how to contact us. At the end, we will be sharing links, a resource document with links of all the resources and programs that we discussed during this. Okay, so if you're ready to get started, I am. So the Lou Esther T. Mertz Library was established part of the Garden's founding in 1891. The building that you see here was completed in 1900, and that's when we were able to open our doors to the public. We have always supported the Garden's mission in collecting, preserving, and developing collections on botany, horticulture, and landscape design. The founding collections was about 5,000 books, and we have since grown to be known as the largest collection of botany, horticulture, and landscape design materials under one roof. We now hold approximately 11 million items, 500,000 books in 96 different languages, right here in the Bronx. So the Lou Esther T. Mertz Library is free and open to the public, and we offer many services to all of our library users. But to walk through some of our library users, they can be broken down into 5 separate categories. So first and foremost, well, here you're looking at our reading room. So when you visit the library, this is the main reading room. So the first audience group that we want to talk about is the NYBG staff. The NYBG staff rely on our collections for their day-to-day work and to develop their current research and support their current research. The next group is actually comprised of 4 separate population groups. So it's under one category of NYBG students. So we have 4 separate student groups on the grounds. We have our adult education classes, which provide certificate programs and leisure classes. Then we have our School of Professional Horticulture. We have our science graduates and our humanities fellows. Our humanities fellows are of different age groups, and they are from undergraduate, graduate, and postdoctoral. Bronx residents, New York City residents, and residents in the tri-state area, or just visitors to the garden, find their way to our library. Members of the public use our library for a variety of reasons. Pre-COVID, they used the space for relax and leisure. They've browsed collections. They've come to us for very specific materials. So the library is free and open to the public without the garden admission. So if you're just looking for library materials, you're welcome to come to the library for free. Our 4th group is a large group. We partner up with local colleges and universities throughout New York City and the tri-state area. We have very strong relationships with Lehman College, Fordham, Bronx Community College, and Hostos. We support their students by providing research assistance as well as assignment assistance. And then we also provide tours to classes. We assist instructors with developing curricula for the semester and providing reading lists. Researchers is probably our broadest group. Anyone to us is a researcher. A researcher can range from the youngest kid looking for the best science fair project to the very serious scholarly academic that is using our historic materials for their current research. So though we're open to all Though the library is open to all and the library is free for anyone to use, NYBG members do have perks within the library. So one of the perks that NYBG membership gets you is a library card. And with that library card, you're allowed to bring books home from our circulating collections, which is our members collection and our children's collection. And with your library card, you have access to our paid databases and e-journals from home. You also, pre-COVID, and there are a few, there are some special members only events at the garden and for the library. However, it is important to know that there are some digital resources that you will have access to without an NYBG membership, and we are here to help anybody regardless of your membership status. So I'm going to walk you through some of the services here. So first up is our plant information services. Some of you may be familiar with this, but if you are not, our plant information team is a team of horticultural specialists within the library, and they answer questions from around the world. They use our library collections and their collective knowledge to respond to identification questions, knowing and growing, tips and tricks. They provide assistance on technique and troubleshooting, and they also take one-on-one questions. Our next service, librarians like Rashad and myself and our library colleagues offer research assistance to both groups and individuals. We provide classes on how to use our databases and navigate our catalog. We provide assistance on locating specific materials, guidance on how to develop bibliographies, and truly so much more. Basically, the research and reference assistance is if you need any help or have any questions, Rashad and I are here to help. We'll provide our contact information for both Plant Information Services and our contact after the presentation. Our interlibrary loan service, though our collection holds over 11 million items, it may be hard to believe, but we do have gaps in our collection. So if we do not hold a resource that you're looking for, we do partner up with other libraries locally and throughout the world. So we can ask them to provide that resource through our interlibrary loan service. Interlibrary loan services at the Lew-Esther T. Mertz Library can be requested directly through our library for a small fee, or they can be accessed through your public library or academic institution. We prefer that you put in requests through your public library or your academic institution because at the moment we are taking those requests as a priority. Because times are different, of course, this conference looks very different this year. We want to talk a little bit about our COVID closures at the garden and the library. So, of course, like you all are aware and probably exhausted, unfortunately, due to COVID-19, the library is not open to on-site visitors, which is truly disappointing because the library does have an atmosphere that is super welcoming and it's so exciting to browse the collections and see the different colors. But we are prioritizing our reference services and we continue to take requests. We are continuing to provide digital scans and our interlibrary loan services are being prioritized as they come in through other institutions. So we do encourage you to explore our digital resources in the meantime. Definitely contact us if you're looking for virtual research or reference assistance, and just keep checking the website for COVID updates. So we're a small team, and before COVID hit, we had quite a few programs in the library. Our programs ranged from public tours. We had show and tells of special and rare collections. We provided weekly seminars through our Humanities and Science Institute, where you can hear the latest research from scholars from around the world. We welcomed camper groups over the summer and winter months when school was not in session. We provided demonstrations and workshops for students, specifically in the information studies fields. We attended community events such as green markets, as well as science fairs at Lehman College. We host workshops on databases, citizen science projects, apps, and so much more. We also hosted many different leisure activities such as coloring and collage work, all plant related, of course. We're a small team, and I just want to point out that and acknowledge that we don't do this alone. So it's important to show that our support and participation truly rely on the support of our partners. And here are a few. So the Metropolitan Library Council is where our library staff can chat with other librarians, keep up on what's happening in the field, professional development workshops, and keep up to date on the most current practices. This was wildly crucial as we all adjusted to the new workflows that COVID-19 imparted on us. Next, our NYBG staff. So we rely on the botanical and horticultural expertise of the NYBG science and horticulture staff to help develop our collection. We are librarians and we are experts in the collection, but we are not experts in the field of botany and horticulture. Though we may know some things, we do rely on their expertise to help develop the collections in order to have the most current publications and materials in the field. Some of you are most likely familiar with extension services, and our plant information team has a very good relationship with both the Cornell Extension Services and services on Long Island. They work closely with their partners at these extension services for identification assistance and resource sharing. As mentioned earlier, our interlibrary loan partners around the globe help us provide resources to researchers, though we may not carry that particular resource ourselves. CBHL and EBHL, so the Council on Botanical and Horticultural Libraries and its European sister group, European Botanical and Horticultural Libraries, is a very important network that we have because it is comprised of other botanical and horticultural librarians. So this is a space that we can talk about topics and issues concerning our very niche and specialized collections. There are so many more, but I do want to highlight two of our partner departments at the New York Botanical Garden that you may have heard of or may have worked with. So of course, you already may be familiar with Bronx Greenup. However, if you are not, I'm here to tell you what it is and talk a little bit more about them. So Bronx Greenup is our community outreach program, a part of the New York Botanical Garden, and it provides horticultural education, training, and technical assistance to Bronx residents, community gardeners, urban farmers, local schools, and community organizations. Whether you've interacted with them or not, Bronx Greenup is a phenomenal resource. So you can go on their webpage and find wonderful resources that can help you through your day-to-day activities in the garden. So they provide workshops if you're looking for something a little more intense and engaging, as well as certificate programs. But they also have pre-developed class curriculas, and they can work with you to develop your own curricula. And more importantly, they have fact sheets on their website that you can view, similar to the plant information guides. The Humanities Institute is a Mellon-funded program at the New York Botanical Garden that supports the research that merges the humanities and the sciences. So any research that bridges the two is something that the Humanities Institute supports. So in the new Humanities Institute Foods Studies program, they aim to celebrate and explore the food narratives throughout the Bronx communities. This may resonate with a lot of you who do work in the Bronx communities, specifically with food. Working closely with Bronx Greenup, the Humanities Institute Food Studies Initiative aims to uncover these stories, reflecting the cultural importance of growing and preparing food throughout the Bronx, using oral history and a public lecture series to communicate these important initiatives. We're asking you if you have any interest in participating, volunteering, or would like to suggest a program, a person, or a garden that should be featured in this new Humanities Institute Food Studies Initiative, to please contact the director of the Humanities Institute, Vanessa Sellers. Her contact information and links will be provided at the end of this presentation. So now we're going to do a collections overview. Our collections are quite large, so hang in there. So as I mentioned earlier, our collections are comprised over approximately 11 million items, 500,000 books in 96 different languages. However, they can be divided into 7 areas. We have our research collection, our rare book and folio collection, circulating collections, our children's K-12 collections, special collections, reference collection, the archives, electronic databases, and so much more. I'm going to break down a few of these for you. Our reference collection includes our indexes, encyclopedias, and dictionaries. Now, our reference collections still exist. A lot of places reference collections have gone away or have decreased significantly. However, in the fields of botany, horticulture, and landscape design, a lot of these materials that live in printed indexes, dictionaries, and encyclopedias are still pretty relevant because they cannot be found online. So these materials do live within our library on site at all times. Our general collection can be seen as the heart of the collection. So this is where that 500,000 books reside. The collection covers everything from art books, humanities materials, floras of the world, great taxonomic works, historic children's books, cookbooks, and truly so much more. Our circulating collection is the collection in which members can bring home. So if you're a New York Botanical Garden member, you can check the book out as similar to like a public library, like you bring the book home. And that collection is made up of approximately 6,000 titles. And those titles range everything from the history of the Bronx to New York Times bestsellers in biodiversity and climate change, subjects on gardening and technique and different plants. It's truly a browsable collection when we're open, and it's a really fun place to find the most current materials. So next up is our journals. So the library subscribes to approximately 7,000 e-journals that you can access online. We're going to send you those links after the presentation. Some of these are paid and some of these are freely accessible. So you'll have to look at the link, or you're welcome to reach out to both Rashad and myself. We also subscribe to almost 17,000 printed journals. So we do have a large space, but our journals are truly representative of the 96 languages that we carry, because it is everything from National Geographic, Martha Stewart Living, to peer-reviewed scientific journals in Polish about mushrooms. So it's a very large range between the collection. The library's special collections are a very large category, and they're made up of very exciting and unique treasures. This ranges everything from botanical art, seed and nursery catalogs, mounted insects, and so much more. Our archives, on the other hand, is a very old and wonderful collection that hosts the treasures of our institution. So institutional records, such as the founding records of Nathaniel Lord Britton, our founder, and his wife, Elizabeth Knight Britton. As you can see at the bottom of the screen, these are some fun facts about our collections. So our largest book, our heaviest book, and our oldest book. So the library often collaborates with the New York Botanical Garden staff in horticulture, science, and other departments to curate and develop exhibits using the library's collections. These collections allow us to provide a window into our vast collections to the visitor and to members of the public, because with such a large collection, it's impossible to see the entirety of our collection in one visit. Our more recent exhibits can be found digitally online. We're going to provide those links at the end of the presentation. I have to say, Rashad here on the call is the curator of Black Botany, the Nature of the Black Experience. And tomorrow he's going to be giving a curator's conversation discussion, which is free. And you can sign up for that tomorrow at 6 p.m. We'll provide that information at the end as well. Some of you may be familiar with the Biodiversity Heritage Library, but if you're not, BHL for short is a purely digital library that is open access and can be accessed freely from any device anywhere. Its collections are comprised of collections from contributors of biodiversity collections from around the world. And the Leicester T. Mertz Library is one of the founding members. We're really proud to be one of the founding members of BHL. And since its founding in 2005, we've already digitized over 4 million pages. Digitization work is such an ongoing and it's a forever project. So we're continuing to digitize our collections, but you can view a lot of our collections on BHL for free. We also link to that in our resource document. So to go over some of our specific gardening and plant collections, I want to walk you through kind of our historic collections to our more current stuff. So depicted here on the screen are some of our historic collections, and these cover historic gardening and horticulture works. We cover 8 centuries of materials, and our gardening and horticulture works cover that same span as well. Depicted here are historic seed and nursery catalogs, bulletins and newsletters of garden clubs, such as Garden Club of America, more historic issues of popular journals such as Horticulture and Gardener's Chronicle. But what is not depicted here, and there's so much more to talk about in our historic gardening and horticulture collections, is our records and our nature journals. So garden records are wildly important, and our historic collections provide such an importance to gardeners today, because it not only shares different methods and techniques of capturing those recordings, but it also provides an insight to what other gardeners were doing, possibly in the same areas that you are working in. Our more current journals related to gardening and horticulture include popular titles such as Martha Stewart Living and Fine Gardening. We also carry titles for all readers, truly from the novice to the expert. So this is just a small fraction of the 17,000 journals that we carry. Similarly, our current gardening and horticulture program publications include new titles from Timber Press and Rodale. We kind of have a range of publishers that we rely on, some of the more popular gardening publishers, but we're always looking for suggestions on what titles we should add to our collection, because this collection does serve you. So if you do have any suggestions, feel free to add it to the chat or bring it up to us via email or even in the Slack channel tomorrow evening. We'll send you the details to how to reach us at the end. So before I hand it over to Rashad, for my closing statement, I really just want to emphasize that how you use our library is entirely up to you. Having our library collections accessible to you is our goal. We want to emphasize that Rashad and I and our library staff are here to support you and the important work that you do for our communities and our gardens. Whether it's record keeping, nature journaling, keeping up with current techniques or practices, reading for pleasure, or some serious research, we're here to help. Please reach out. We want to hear from you. Thank you. And so I'm going to hand it over to Rashad. And in his resource demo, you should expect to review a live navigation of the library's website, our library catalog, our plan information guides and how to ask for help or contact the plan information team, and how to contact us. And I will be adding the resource document in the chat. Thank you.
Thank you, Samantha. All right. I want to give you guys just a quick run through of how to utilize our website so that you can easily find resources and reach out to us if you need to. So first, of course, you're going to navigate to nybg.org. And once you're there, you're going to see in the top navigation bar here, Learn. Click Learn, because that's what we're here to do. And you'll see these buttons, but also on the sidebar here, Mertz Library. So click either of those. And you'll be taken to the library's website. You'll see here, like Samantha mentioned, you'll have the closure information here if we're open or available. And underneath here on the sidebar again, you'll see a list of the library resources and collections that you can access. In the center here, you'll see a search bar for a catalog, and the buttons here duplicate what you see on the sidebar. So what I think is relevant, first we're going to go to plant information. This is a way to, as Samantha mentioned, get a lot of information and questions answered that people may have. And on the plant information page here, you'll see under plant information research guides, or under a different title, gardening help, you click here. I'm doing this before we go to the ask us a question, because Plant Info writes a ton of information guides. And as you can see, there's a list of subjects here for a lot of things that people may be interested in. And we'll just go through one to see. We'll go to houseplants, because I'm sure a lot of us have houseplants here, as you can see. So plant information team is very prolific. This is showing 32 guides just related to houseplants. And you'll see so if you click the subject, you'll see all that's related to it. And we'll just go in once again, aloe. That's a houseplant a lot of us have. And you'll see not only a narrative, but tips and tricks and information on how to maintain your plants and other information. And also important with the plant information guides, you'll see on the right-hand side here, it links to all kinds of related guides. So you can kind of go deep down the rabbit hole if you want, looking for information. And there also are related plant societies and noteworthy books on related topics. And if you click any of these books, it'll take you to a catalog entry, and you can get information there for requesting that or finding that book. You can also contact plant information by emailing them. And if I go back, as I had mentioned, you can click the send us a question. What's important about this page is before you send a question, we suggest that you look at the popular guides and see if your question has already been asked. But if you haven't found it in the guides, you can fill out this form here or click there and email them. And go back to the homepage here and show you quickly how to search our catalog. So with the catalog, you can search, keyword, author, etc., just like any other library catalog. I'm going to search gardening here, which has conveniently already been typed in. Hit search, and you'll see that, like Samantha said, our collections are very extensive. We've got over 1,800 books related to gardening. And so you can scroll and see if anything catches your eye. Just to give you an example, we're going to click herb gardening at its best here. And you'll see you get the title, the author, all the pertinent information about the book. The location, this is something important to note if you do want to request the book. General collection, that will show that the book is in our general collection, which is the non-circulating collection. Members library, those are circulating books. And status, of course, if it's available or not. Now, if you were to request this from us, please send us everything you see here, so you could just copy the link and include that in your message. It also shows you, in case you're not sure if you've heard of a book and you're not sure if this is the thing without a picture, it does give you a page count and the size, a little physical description, related subject. So you could click that and that'll take you to a catalog with all books related to herb gardening. And provenance, if someone's donated a book, you know, it'll show who's done that. And you may recognize this name as that's the name on the conservatory at the garden. Go back to our homepage here. And this is just a quick run through. If you have any more questions about how to utilize the catalog, please feel free. And just to touch on it, I'm not going to dive in, but underneath the catalog search, you'll see other links to databases. This takes you to a page of all our databases. eJournals, this is all the journals we have subscriptions to. Some of you may be familiar with JSTOR, which is a journal database, and BioOne, which is a more specific science database. And let's see, you'll see down here, contacts. You can email at libref.nybg.org, and we all see that, so we can answer any questions you have there. Interlibrary loan services, as Samantha mentioned. Now, since our library is presently closed to the public and we're not circulating text, we would recommend that you submit a request through your local library or association, or institution, and you can request materials through them, and hopefully, in more cases than not, they cover the fee. So that'll probably be honestly the quickest way to get something these days. And I believe all the contact information and everything is going to be on the resource sheet that we share at the end of our presentation.
So my name is Casey. I work as a senior outreach coordinator with Green Thumb. It's so good to have you all. Thanks everyone for tuning in, and thanks to all the presenters with the New York Botanical Garden. We really appreciate your time. A couple questions we have so far. So thanks for folks who've contributed questions in the chat. The first question is, do you provide workshops over Zoom for parents or children, and particularly students of special needs? I guess either Samantha or Rashad.
We do provide workshops over Zoom. We have not had any requests for workshops for children, and we have not done any workshops for children with special needs. However, we are working with our accessibility department at the New York Botanical Garden to develop different visual guides, sensory workshops, but those have yet to be completed. But if you have ideas, please email us, because we are trying to find our footing in that. So any advice would be very helpful. If you're looking for a specific workshop, Rashad could stop me if I'm speaking out of line, but I think that we could try to accommodate what you're looking for specifically.
Great, thank you. Another question was, does your library work with the American Museum of Natural History's Hall of Biodiversity?
We have a really great relationship with AMNH. We do work closely with them. We work closely in many, many ways. And the library in particular is some of our closest partners in New York, in the New York area. A lot of our collections overlap, and we rely on their librarians and vice versa for just resource sharing and kind of support.
Great, thank you. We've got a couple more questions coming in on the chat. One is, if you could share some more examples of record keeping.
Visual examples, or just
maybe like techniques for record keeping that you might recommend for community gardeners?
Yeah, so in our I could only speak, Heather was going to speak about the more current practical uses. Rashad and I can only speak to the historic documentation that we have in our library. So in historic records, what's valuable to gardeners today is the naming of plants kind of what succeeded, what did well, what thrived in a certain zone, a certain area, and the details of that, about the soil composition or, just like specific location, weather, and specific plant. And those are really what's represented in our historic documentation.
Great, thank you. Another question was, has the New York Botanical Garden digitized the herbarium?
Well, the herbarium is its own separate entity and has its own portion of the website on NYBG. So they are also constantly working to digitize their materials. But that, like Samantha said, is a never-ending project.
We will link to the digital herbarium. Actually, in the resource document that we did share, there is a link to the digital herbarium resources.
Great, thank you. I've seen a couple other questions about like the types of documentation for gardeners, a question about taking pictures of certain plants or insects that you might notice in your gardens. There's maybe some tips for ways to approach that.
So our plant information team would absolutely kill us if we did not say that you have to take a picture in focus. They receive so many pictures out of focus. We're here to help you with your identification needs, whether it's pest or plant identification or disease identification. But the picture must be in focus. And if you're looking at a tree, taking a picture of a tree, you want both the leaf, you want the branch, you want the bark. If there's any flowers or fruits, you want to include that. If you're taking a picture of an insect, you want to include as close as you could get a picture of an insect, but also its surroundings, because sometimes the plant helps, most of the times the plant and its surroundings help us identify what type of insect that is, and similar with disease states.
So I want to take out this time to thank the facilitators for hosting this webinar for us, the interpreters for doing the translation, and all the participants for coming up and showing up.